Hey guys, we are back with another week of devotions in the book of Matthew. I'm so excited to walk alongside you guys and look at these scriptures. First, a question for you. Have you ever been reading something and then all of a sudden you realize you haven't been paying attention for like the last 5 pages and you're like, what? And so you reread it, but you're still not comprehending. Well, that's a lot like what was happening to the followers of Jesus around the time that he started teaching in what we call parables. And we see that starting in chapter 13. He starts teaching in these things called parables. And really what they are specific ways that Jesus taught so that certain people would be confused. It's almost like Jesus was hiding the truth in very profound imagery. In chapter 13, verse 13, he actually says this. He says, "This is why I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand." So you have a picture of people who have been doing religion their whole life. They know how to look like they're listening, they know how to look like they are paying attention, but really there's nothing going on the inside. And so Jesus is gonna expose that truth. He's gonna say, I know that the things that I'm saying don't really mean a whole lot to you. Let's look at his first parable, the parable of the sower, one of the more famous parables, and you might even have heard it before. And what's really interesting is that the disciples, they didn't even really get it. And so you read the parable, and then a couple paragraphs later, the disciples are like, hey, Jesus, can you explain to us what this means? And so it almost proves Jesus's point that unless you truly believe and follow Jesus, you're not gonna understand the things that he is saying. And he's talking about building the kingdom of God. Remember, Jesus is our king, and he's talking about what his kingdom looks like. He says that the proclamation of the kingdom goes out everywhere. It's the seed that is spread. But there's many places that the seed falls. It falls on rocky soil, it falls on vines, it falls on hard ground, and it falls on good soil. So what we get is a picture of people accepting Jesus and people rejecting Jesus. People seem to like some of the things that Jesus is saying, but they prefer some of the things in the world. And so the vines choke out the growth and they prefer the world over Jesus' words. Some people are so hard-hearted that the seed of the gospel doesn't even penetrate them. And then there's good soil. Those of you who believe and follow Jesus, you have fertile ground for Jesus to produce fruit in your life. So this is his point in the first parable, that if you follow Jesus, if you truly believe in Jesus, then your life is going to display something different than the world. So how about you? Does your life look different than the world? Does your life look any different than an atheist? Like, take away the fact that maybe you go to church every now and then. Does your life from Monday till Friday even really look any different? There's a guy named Paul David Tripp, and he would call you a functional atheist. That on the outside, really, everything looks the same as if you didn't believe in God. So what are your thoughts? What are your actions? Jesus is concerned with what's in here and not so much with what is out there. But what is in here is going to affect the things that are out here. So the question for you is the kingdom of heaven even really that important to you? Do you truly follow King Jesus? In verse 44 of chapter 13 is my favorite parable because it's only one verse long, and it reads like this. 13:44 says, "The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and covered up. Then in his joy goes and sells all that he has and buys that field." That's a picture of true joy. And really reading that should stir something inside of you. Like, is Jesus worth everything that you have? Is Jesus worth knowing personally, intimately, joyfully for you? Or do you prefer the things of this world? Do you love God in this way? Is he worth that to you? So as you read chapters 13 through 15 this week, ask yourself those questions. Do I truly follow King Jesus? Do I truly put my faith in him? What's the worth of God in my life? Because that's what Jesus is going to hammer out in these parables. And yeah, they're probably going to be confusing. And you might even have to look up online, like, what does this parable mean? Because Jesus only explains one of them. And so all of them could be kind of confusing, but ask God to reveal the truth to your heart. Because if you truly believe in God, then reading his word is like a conversation with him. And having that conversation over and over, you can understand God better and grow closer to him. And you're even going to see people towards the end of the chapters in 14 and 15 using Jesus for the things that he does on the outside, not caring for what he can do on the inside. They follow him for his miracles, they follow him for his blessings, but they don't really want to change. And so I would challenge you to pray that God would change your heart, because God is way more concerned with what's in here than what you do out here. That's what it means to follow King Jesus. I'll see you guys next time.